Good morning and good afternoon, good evening, good night, as Christopher usually says. As you can see, he's not with me today. This is not Christopher Pellegrini.
I'm not Christopher.
This is Jake Pellegrini. I'm sorry, Jake Tennenbaum. I haven't had enough coffee today. He is visiting from New Jersey. And not your first time in Japan, but your first time in Kyushu.
Correct.
That's right. Jake is part of the Honkaku Spirits team. He's the U.S. account specialist. And he's over to visit. We're going to go see some distilleries. We're going to show him what Kyushu's all about, give him a better sense of the culture and the history and everything down here in Kyushu. And welcome him. I'm wearing my Kanpai Hawks baseball cap, which doesn't exactly welcome him to Kyushu, but kind of does because now the Hawks are based in Fukuoka. But when they wore this cap, they were in Osaka. But forgive me.
You.
Yeah, I refuse to wear SoftBank Hawks ball caps because they look dumb. So I stick with this Nankai Hawks. Plus, this hat tweaks Christopher in a couple of ways. All right, first of all, if it's not the Swallows, he doesn't want to see the hat. Number two, he's from Vermont, and NH is New Hampshire. Right?
See, I would think that he would at least appreciate that you're using the older version of the hat, because I know how much he hates the YS Yakult Swallows hats.
Right. Yeah, but here we are. It's anyway, little baseball history for you to start out. But we're actually here in Ohori Park. I don't know if maybe we'll step aside a little bit so people can see the view. There's a nice little bridge. There's some ducks on the pond, that sort of thing. Beautiful part of the city. If you're ever in Fukuoka, come and visit Ohori Park. There's a pretty great Starbucks if you're missing America. There is a French restaurant that I believe might have a Michelin star that has park views. There's a tea house. There's a traditional Japanese garden. It costs you a princely sum of about 300 yen to get in. And then there's the Fukuoka Art Museum, which is, it's an efficient museum, let's say. It's not a lot to see, but they usually have a nice temporary exhibit, and their permanent collection is actually pretty impressive for its size. All right here in Ohori Park. And yeah, it's kind of a pretty great spot. Consider it kind of the central part of Fukuoka. And there's a train that comes right here. So anyway, Jake, welcome.
Thank you very much.
To Fukuoka. You got in last night?
Yes.
Tell me about your first meal.
First meal, I was having difficulty finding any of the places that were recommended to me. So I just found the grungiest, dingiest izakaya I possibly could. And it happened to be full of people, so I figured it would be decent. And I'll tell you what, for a $10 meal, it sure was.
Nice.
I ended up getting gyoza, which I know is not necessarily the most famous local specialty, but they're filling.
Well, we're proud of our gyoza.
Well, they were good gyoza. Are they typically smaller?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
We call them hitokuchi gyoza, which means one bite.
Yeah.
You're not like having to cut it in half your chopsticks because it's too big. Just small. Boom. Okay. So you got the local.
Practical. Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that is a local specialty. Yeah. I got a thing of those. I got some tsukune.
Oh, nice.
Which is one of my favorites. And what happened to be a shockingly good yaki onigiri. Really great binchotan flavor. And I'd never had it served this way with a little pat of butter and some shredded shiso leaf on it, which really made it special.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
I'll name the name of that place if you bookmarked it.
Yeah,
it sounds like that was the Yakitori restaurant with the charcoal grill.
Yes.
Sounds like a great little izakaya.
I looked them up on Google afterwards, and it turned out they had a horrible rating, but it seems like it was mostly from some foreigners who didn't like the way they treated foreigners there. But it was fine for me.
Yeah, there you go. Good to hear. Yeah, it's funny with it's something I realized when you're looking at Google reviews in particular. I don't use Yelp anymore because they pissed me off a few years back. But when you're using Google Map reviews, the key in Japan is don't pay attention to the star rating, because Japanese people will write friendly staff, delicious food, priced decently, 3 stars, because that's average, right? And in Japan, the expectation is you're only going to get 4 or 5 stars if you're exceptional. It's not like everything was great, but it could have been like more gourmet, more premium. No, it's like we understood we were going to this restaurant that's casual and good food, and that's what we got. So that's 3 stars.
Meets expectations.
Yeah. Now if you see a 1.6 or a 2.4 rating in Japan, that's probably a place you don't want to go unless you just want a really, really horrible experience. But sometimes you need that to remind you how good the service is in Japan.
This place had a 2.5.
Did it really? No kidding. That's very low.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I believe it was a 2.5, but I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, I would have avoided it had I seen that. So good to know that you can actually walk into some 2.5s and have a nice time.
Service was slow, but the food was decent.
All right, so maybe 3 stars.
Yes.
On a Japanese scale.
I think a solid 2.7 to 3.
And did they have a decent shochu list?
As far as I could tell, something that I really got a kick out of was above the bar, there were these sort of placards or posters that had pictures of bottles of shochu and pictures of the recommended food pairings.
Oh, nice.
Which, if I saw that back in America, I would lose my mind. Here,
in a good way, or
in the best possible way.
Huh.
Here it was great to see, just not quite as shocking.
Sure.
And of course, I was sat right next to the bottle keep, which yet another thing that I wish we had a little more of in the States.
Yeah.
A couple familiar brands. Was it the one that I remember, Asahi Manen?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, they had some good shochu.
Yeah.
That's not a common shochu
I
to
know.
find in Izakaya. So good to hear. Yeah, definitely want to check this place out. Yeah, maybe we haven't talked about bottle keep in a while, so maybe that's a good topic.
Yeah, sure.
So
sure.
basically, I mean, when we think of bottle service in the States, we invariably go to nightclub, $300 bottles of well vodka and things like that. You know, $1,000 bottle of Stoli or something. In Japan, that's different, right? You're paying maybe 1.5 retail, maybe double retail for a bottle that you get served tableside with a bucket of ice or your hot water and some water, maybe soda for dilution. And if you don't finish it, you can leave it. You put your name on it. They usually give you a marker and a permanent marker, and you write on the bottle, and that becomes your bottle. And when you go back, you usually pay a nominal fee for them to get the bottle and give you more ice and water, hot water, whatever.
100 yen, a few hundred yen, maybe.
Yeah, if it's a nice place, it might be up to 500, but usually less than that. And typically, like, because these places don't have a lot of space, you usually have like a 3-month limit. And once it gets past 3 months, they're either dumping it out. I'm guessing the staff's drinking it.
Yeah.
They're pouring yours by the glass to other customers order it. But it's a great system. And there were a few bars in New York that used to do this, and I don't know how many are left.
Not that many to my knowledge. There are a handful. That being said, a lot of the older places that were doing it are no longer with us.
That's right, yeah. There was quite an attrition over there during COVID. So.
But one that I know of off the top of my head that our friend Bill Gunther, from what I understand, tends to have a few bottles over there is Gongo in the East Village, which opened up maybe a year or so ago, a little over a year ago.
Huh.
So it's, while there might not be quite as many as there used to be, we're not just continuously losing them. There are new ones coming onto the scene. And I've spoken to a few people who are interested in working it into their programs at some restaurants that don't necessarily cater as exclusively to the Japanese customers as some of the other places did. So I'm excited to see it moving forward, and maybe now that New York is allowing 24% shochu and soft licenses, we'll start to see some more bottle keeps popping up.
Yeah, that's a great point with the new ABV law.
Yeah.
So that's really good news. Before time gets away from us, this is going to be a short one today because we got things to do and places to be. Welcome drink. So you were born when?
1996.
1996. So Jake was 2 years old when this awamori was distilled. And you're wondering, I'm not in Okinawa, I'm in Fukuoka, or we're in Fukuoka, but why a 1998 awamori? Well, because we have coffee. And I know many of you are probably cringing in 1998 awamori going into coffee. This is justified in 2 ways. Once, it's not every day. This is Jake's first time in Fukuoka. And number 2 is this is from Zampa, which is a big distillery. So this isn't precious handmade distillate that was made in 1998. This is big boy distillate that was made in 1998, which still makes it special. It's still a very, very nice bottle. But we're gonna enjoy a little bit of it straight, and then we're gonna have it in our coffee. And yeah, welcome to Jake. Why don't you do the honors in opening that up? I'll get our cups.
I should note this will be my first drink since December.
Oh, this is ending your dry January.
Yes, not counting the 13 or so wines I tasted with our friends down at Specs in Texas, and countless other things that I may have had a fraction of a sip of with some bartender friends.
course, Ryukyu glass. Oh, I'll take that. That one's yours.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Kanpai.
Kanpai.
Oh, the vanilla.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Kyushu?
You are correct, sir. 42% alcohol. That'll wake you up.
That is lovely. Wow.
Yeah.
And does that say on the side, is that a 2021 bottling too?
Yes, this was bottled
Wow.
2021, so it's now got almost. It was bottled in March 3rd, 2021. So it has 2 more years of age in the bottle. So well, I guess it's exactly this vintage. So I don't know exactly how old it is, but yeah, Zampa. It's a big distillery, but in Okinawa, everything's so regional that on the Zampa Cape area of the country, they're the only distillery in that region, and so that's what everybody drinks, and it's their local drink, and they're proud of it. Right? They don't care that it's one of the largest makers. I know a lot of people actually like Sanpokuri, which is a vacuum distilled awamori, which is very uncommon. They were actually the innovators in bringing the vacuum still to Okinawa, which I think is how they got so big.
That's something I'll have to try while I'm in Japan because I haven't had a chance to taste a vacuum distilled awamori in the States. That being said, I suspect I'll always return to atmospheric, but
Sure.
it's interesting.
Yeah. Now, I do not know if this is atmospheric or vacuum. We don't have enough information on the package. I'm guessing this is atmospheric just because I don't know why they would long age an atmospheric, a vacuum awamori. Doesn't look like we have any comments yet, just making sure. So, yeah, and so when you're ready, you can put a little bit of that in your coffee, if you so dare. I am going to go ahead and pour out of this cup. I've become a fan of this brand. It's Georgia. In the silver can, where is it coming up there? It's a black coffee, so no sugar, no milk. Again, Kanpai, awamori coffee, breakfast of champions.
I could get used to this.
Yeah, no, it's not a hard way to start the day, or just as a mid-afternoon pick-me-up. Great. Yeah. And Agman says he'd love a taste, and I think when you're in Japan, you'll definitely have to do that. And yes, Mark, it is too late for coffee where you're from, but we're able to drink coffee at this time of day since it's a little after 10 a.m. You call awamori with coffee kohi. That's Bill Gunter. Well, kohi is coffee. So what would we? And it's
Kohiwari?
Kohiwari. That's right. That'd be kohiwari. So this would be kohiwari. Good point. Koshu, which is aged shochu, is not called koshu in awamori. It's called kusu, Kusu rather than Kochu. Koshu. So kusu awamori is what this would be. The Sampa 1998 vintage is a kusu awamori, and that's like what people love down there. They're obviously premium drinks. Most awamoris ippanshu, which is usually consumed 3 to 9 months after, or at least bottled 3 to 9 months after distillation. But the kusu is what the fans really get into. And I found this just randomly at a little bottle shop in central Naha. And I was like, is that really a 1998? I mean, of course it was, but I was just really surprised. And so I grabbed it. Last one on the shelf.
I was going to ask if this is the sort of thing that you would ever expect to come across in Fukuoka, or if you really have to be in Okinawa to find a bottle like that.
Shortly after I moved here, I wanted to find some good awamori, and I found a Okinawa Prefecture antenna shop. So antenna shops are this interesting concept. In Tokyo, you've got all 46 other prefectures represented. There's an antenna shop for every prefecture in Japan in Tokyo. And they're actually official government-run shops that sell local foods and crafts and things like that. This guy was not an official Okinawa antenna shop. He was basically a guy from Okinawa who wanted to introduce Okinawan culture. And the entire first floor of his shop is a narrow little place in a shopping street. And his entire first floor was all Okinawan food. So people would come
Oh,
in to get
fun.
their ingredients to make Okinawan dishes at home. And when you went to the second floor, it was all awamori. And he would have had something like this, maybe. I mean, he had awanami, for example, which you almost never find
Which
outside
we were
of.
talking about the other day.
Yeah. And then when I went back there, because I went there to buy. It was early in the pandemic. Everybody was worried there was going to be an alcohol shortage for sanitization. We didn't know if COVID could be spread. This is like very, very early. We didn't know if touching things could lead to contamination or to infection. And I was like, I'm going to go get some hanazake from. This is the 60% alcohol, 120 proof awamori from Okinawa, and I knew exactly where I could get it, and he had it. And I went and I bought an Isho bean and a 720 of that. Never opened them because we realized very quickly that hand sanitizer wasn't going to run out. But what happened is all of the shochu, not all, but a lot of the shochu and awamori makers started making hand sanitizer. And they have labels that say like "do not drink," right? Now it's basically just high proof distillate. So you're getting a 65, 70, 75% alcohol shochu or awamori. It's been multiply distilled. But when you use that hand sanitizer, it smells of what it's made from. So it still smells like barley, still smells like awamori, like Thai rice. And they were given like this special license to do this. It was an exception to their alcohol limit for distillation. And you can still find these things because it never really turned into something that the country needed. And so when you go to, especially the shops in the distilleries, they will still be selling it, and they're not telling you not to drink it anymore. They're like, it's pretty good with oyuwari or whatever. Don't use a lot of the shochu because it's pretty strong. But yeah, and one of the distilleries here in Fukuoka, Kanpai, he's a little bit of a mad scientist type. I call him an iconoclast. Like he just does things his own way. He's now bottling and selling. He got a spirits license, so he's now bottling and selling at 66% alcohol.
Oh wow!
It's not a shochu, and it's just
spirits. Yeah,
and it's gorgeous.
Really?
Yeah, really, really pretty drink, and it's lightly aged, not in a barrel or anything. Right? It's a clear spirit, and I liked it so much when I tried it at the distillery, I bought it all.
Multiple atmospheric distillation.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. So
I'll have to track down some of that to try while I'm in town too.
Yeah. Well, when you come over, we're gonna have you over for dinner.
I feel like bumping up to the 132 proof stuff is going to get dangerous quick.
Oh yeah. So cool. Well, just a little time check because we are on a schedule. Yeah, we got a few more minutes. Let's just see what anybody says. All right. Any thought on Airbnb experience or similar with you in Fukuoka? So I don't do that. Christopher was doing those in Tokyo. Obviously, regular fans of the show reach out to me on social media. If you're visiting, I'm happy to, if I'm available, happy to come out and have a drink and talk a little bit. Mark Carlson actually visited. I'd met him once before the pandemic, and then he came and visited not that long ago, and he and I were able to have a nice dinner out. So I would definitely say just let me know if I'm around. I'm always happy to meet people who love these drinks. So yeah, great question. And yeah, Bill, Kanpai. Yeah, you know Kanpai. Kanpai, I don't know if it's still available. Bill, you can let us know. Kanpai was available in the States, their main brand, but I don't know if they're still being imported. And if not, maybe that's a task for Honkaku Spirits.
What is Kanpai?
Kanpai is 100% barley shochu here in Fukuoka. It's the name of the distillery. He's the one making the 66% spirits.
Yes.
And he's probably, between him and Nishi Yoshida, I would say those are probably my two favorite shochu makers in Fukuoka. They're both 100% barley. And there's just something about how they make them that I just really enjoy for both of those distilleries. So yeah, Kanpai is definitely worth picking up if you can find it. So yeah, we've got you. Let me think. We're gonna hit some bottle shops today. That's gonna be fun. Introduce you to some of my favorite treasures
to do abroad.
Yeah, and so Jake, he's modest, as you can tell from his demeanor, but he is an insane encyclopedia worth of knowledge on American whiskey. And I know of a bottle shop that has some vintage bottles of American whiskey. So we're going to visit there, and he's going to pick through their collection. And by the time he leaves, I suspect that collection will not be nearly as rich as it is when he arrives.
I suspect I'm going to have to buy a third suitcase at some point on my trip.
You may need to. Yeah. yeah, then tomorrow, actually, no, not tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? It is tomorrow. Tomorrow we go to Kagoshima. We're visiting a distillery down there. A distillery we will not name yet because I think Honkaku Spirits is dancing with them, and we want to make sure that they sign the contract before we let people know where where Honkaku Spirits going to be sourcing some new distillate. But visiting them, that'll be your first shochu distillery.
Yes.
Yep. So that's exciting. And then tomorrow night in Kagoshima City, little quiet night out, just a little hello. Can't go too crazy because back to Fukuoka on Friday. Saturday out to Shinozaki, the makers of takamine. Then Sunday we got a bunch of people coming into town. So yeah, Jake's not here for vacation. Jake's here for work. All right, and I'm going to try to help him do that. So.
There's absolutely no overlap. I get no joy out of this whatsoever.
Yeah,
this is strictly business.
I mean, look at him. He's wearing his white button-down. He's like a Japanese salaryman already.
You know, I actually put a tie on, and I figured you'd make fun of me for it, so I took it off.
You know, ties are 12th century technology. Have we talked about this? The necktie was developed to protect the throat from plate mail armor digging into the throat if you fell off your horse. We don't wear plate mail armor anymore, and we don't really ride horses. We do not need ties. Okay. Now I am wearing a scarf because it is a little chilly. So this is my neck warmer though. It serves a different purpose than a necktie. So if you're still wearing a tie, Bill Gunter, please consider not.
Well, you've been here long enough that you have foregone plate and mail, and you prefer the lacquered stuff, right?
That's right. Yeah, the samurai had no history of wearing neckties, so I'm really trying to embrace local culture, and that makes a lot of sense. All right. Oh, Bill says no tie. I think Bill has switched to no tie. That's true. He used to. Whenever Bill and I would meet for drinks, he was still wearing his like Brooks Brothers shirt and his tie, and he'd keep that tie on all night. I'm like, Bill, you were a machine. And anyway, I'm glad to hear there's no tie, Bill. That's good to know.
Hello, Maya.
Yeah.
The surprise is ruined. I'm here.
We did manage to keep the fact that Jamie Graves was in town from her until we walked into her bar. So, but yeah, Jake's here. I'm sure you guys will get to meet this week or next. So yeah, let's wrap up. Now, all of you out there, thank you very much for watching and chiming in. And Jake, welcome to Fukuoka. Kanpai.
Kanpai.
And see, Christopher normally does this, so of course now I'm awkward and that sort of thing.